The Conservative Climate Summit is wrapping up this evening at the University of Utah, organized by Senator John Curtis. Federal, state, and local leaders gathered to discuss how climate change is affecting Utah and other pressing environmental topics. There's a lot to discuss. Our Brian McElhatton is there today, too. Sat down exclusively with Senator Curtis about it. Brian, this is interesting. Tell us what you've learned today.
Okay, Sarah, let's talk about the basics of climate science to begin with. Scientists all around the world, including scientists here at the University of Utah and BYU, I know there are BYU fans watching too, scientists at both universities agree that when we burn fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas, those spew carbon into the atmosphere, which stays up there. The carbon traps in heat. And over time, that heat alters our climate. More variable, less reliable snowfall, frequent, more intense wildfires, the drought we've been dealing with, all caused by or made worse by that climate change. Those scientists say the science is indisputable. That was acknowledged here at the Conservative Climate Summit today. And I talked with Senator John Curtis, who organized this, about why he talks about climate, why he wants other Republicans to talk about climate when it's so politically divisive and frankly hard to talk about. Here's what he had to say. This is the Conservative Climate Summit, organized by Senator John Curtis, who himself launched the Conservative Climate Caucus in Congress. Here, as attendees scarf down the last of the breakfast apples, there are talks on wildfire and forest management, how Utah's reserves of critical minerals can be unlocked, and why nuclear and geothermal power may be how we fuel our homes in the somewhat near future.
Here in Utah, you've got jobs that are connected to this, and not just jobs, but rural jobs.
Yes, you will hear the words climate change and acknowledgments about its growing effects here in Utah. You will hear about clean energy. And with that, my big question that I just can't shake. How do you talk about climate as a Republican senator when the very word is politically fraught at the moment?
Let's start with this. I've never once found a Utahn that doesn't want to leave the earth better than they found it. Right, and that's, instead of going into this like divisive climate, do you think the climate's changing, do you think man's influenced it, that never ends well. But let me ask any Utahn, do you want to leave the earth better than you found it? And they will tell you yes. They'll also tell you less pollution is better than more pollution. So as conservatives, we care deeply about leaving this earth better than we found it. So why are we afraid of this conversation? And that's the whole point of today, is to show conservatives that, hey, you have a role here. And by the way, when you're not here, people are making decisions for you that you don't like.
How do you have conversations about climate when the Trump administration has been openly antagonistic against climate science? The president was at the UN just a few weeks ago. Yeah. He called climate science a con job. So how do you have productive conversations when that's where the political winds are blowing?
So listen, I'm smiling because from the first time I uttered climate, I've been dealing with an uphill battle because just Republicans and conservatives are so like uncomfortable with it. But I will point out that when I formed the Conservative Climate Caucus in Washington, D.C., people said you'll get 2 or 3 Republicans to join. Today, 85 House Republicans. It's the largest caucus in Washington, D.C. is a Republican caucus that talks about climate, because members of Congress were tired of not having a voice. They were tired of not having an answer. And what we show them is how conservatives should respond to this in a positive way, in an uplifting way that shows why we think some of these approaches have not worked and what we would do instead.
Okay, so there you have it. John Curtis on why he believes more Republicans should be talking about climate change. Now, being at a conference with a lot of conservatively minded folks, a lot of the solutions that were talked about, as you would imagine, are free market-based solutions. How is industry tackling this? How is business tackling this? We should note that although clean energy was talked about, cleaner energy, nuclear, geothermal types of energy production that don't emit carbon into the atmosphere, those were talked about, acknowledged as needed. The idea of fossil fuel phase out was not talked about. John Curtis does not believe that is something that needs to happen soon, although climate scientists around the world and here at the U agree that the sooner we phase out fossil fuels altogether, the more we can avoid the worst effects of climate change. That's what the science says. How does that shake out in policy? That awaits to be seen, Sarah.